For any of the more than 20 million people who reportedly watched Donald Trump's convention speech last night, two things were plain as day. First, there is no change in his tone. Expectations that his prepared remarks would offer a heartfelt appeal for national unity met the reality of a rambling, self-indulgent 93-minute Trump rally speech, full of lies about the Democratic Party, weaponizing the justice system, and the China virus, and a migrant invasion, including really sad and upsetting, lurid tales of crime. Invasion was a word he used 13 times. Now, the second thing, which I said before, but I just want to take a second with is, again, this is an aging man who's obviously in decline, right? He's 78 years old. He's just 3 years younger than President Joe Biden. If Biden had delivered that same speech, including some of the sections I'm going to read you, the news stories today would be about the hiccups and the gaffes. They would. And instead, we got headlines that, to my mind, massively mischaracterize the speech, perhaps having been written off of the prepared remarks. Trump takes a unity tone, declared the Pioneer Press of St. Paul, Minnesota. Trump emphasizes unity, the Dallas Morning News reported. Boston Globe, quote, in a departure, Trump calls for unity healing in America, with a subhead that says Trump describes assassination attempt, says God was on his side. Now, that part is true. But the unity part or not, that's not an accurate characterization of the whole speech, just not. So here, I want to read you, okay, straight from a transcript of Trump's speech to show you what I mean. And the reason I'm going to read it to you is I have found often reading the transcript fully communicates what we're dealing with here. Okay, so in his own words, we will replenish our military and build an Iron Dome missile defense system to ensure that no enemy can strike our homeland. And this great Iron Dome will be built entirely in the USA. We're going to build it in the USA. Okay, just to be clear here, this is actually a plank in the RNC platform, and it's completely deranged, okay? This would be like a child conjuring up what they think American defense policy is. Iron Dome protects from very short-range rockets that are fired from Gaza and sometimes from Lebanon into Israel. No one's firing rockets from Quebec, okay, or from Guadalajara. There's nothing to do there. We're not under assault from short-range rockets. Also, the system costs billions of dollars for a state the size of New Jersey, okay? We're talking like $1 trillion investment for something that doesn't exist as a threat. It literally makes no sense, and it is in the RNC platform. First part, he continues. And now he's ad-libbing, okay? That first part in the speech, now he's ad-libbing. And Wisconsin, just like I gave you that massive ship contract. You're doing a very nice job, Governor, right? Thank you, Governor. And they're doing a great job. Okay? So as far as I can tell here, Trump was looking over to Scott Walker, who did indeed serve as Wisconsin's governor 5 years ago, and is not the governor now. You're doing a great job, Governor, right? Not governor now. From the transcript again. In fact, I had a little design change, and we gave them a tremendous, for essentially what we used to call destroyers. These are now the most beautiful. They look like yachts. Okay, so he changed the destroyers to look like yachts. I said we have to take the bow, we have to make it a little nicer, a little point at the top instead of flat nose. And the people at the shipyard said, this guy sort of knows what he's doing. After he does the whole riff on the destroyers, he then goes back to Iron Dome. Again, Iron Dome. Israel has an Iron Dome. They have a missile defense system. It's not a missile defense system, by the way. It's a rocket defense system. 342 missiles were shot into Israel, and only one got through a little bit. It was badly wounded. I think he's talking about the rocket. It fell to the ground, but most of them are, and Ronald Reagan wanted this many years ago, but we really didn't have the technology many years ago. Remember, they called it Starship, Spaceship, anything to mock them? Okay, that, of course, is wrong. Reagan's plan was nicknamed Star Wars, which he obviously couldn't remember, so he said Starship, which is the rock band that sang We Built This City back in Trump's heyday. Mehdi Hasan is the author of Win Every Argument, The Art of Debating, also the founder and editor-in-chief of the new media organization Zitio, and he joins me now. I do think, Mehdi, just going through the script today, that, again, part of it is that he always sort of sounds like this. So there is a kind of acclamation that has already happened, but it is worth just actually encountering it, trying to encounter it afresh so as to cover it accurately.
Yeah, I mean, Trump is a dog bites man on a grand scale, right? He's so inured us and immunized us to his craziness and derangement and dishonesty that we all kind of move on. And Chris, you showed some excellent headlines from kind of state and regional and city papers. The New York Times, the paper of record, their headline on the speech was, after an emotional beginning, Trump veers into familiar partisan attacks.
Right.
Not only does that underplay the derangement of the speech, as you've just pointed out, but I think the word familiar is very important there. Familiar partisan attacks. Journalists don't like familiar, right? They don't want familiar. They want new and shiny. And Trump's insanity and bigotry and dishonesty is all very familiar. So we've just normalized it. We've normalized the abnormal. We've mainstreamed his extremism. And that is a fundamental problem, because you then end up gaslighting your readers and your viewers by pretending that this speech was somehow normal. I interviewed a member of the Washington Post editorial board earlier today who said, well, when I said it was an insane speech, a crazy speech, he said, well, it was just normal Trump. But that's the problem. Normal Trump is crazy, is insane, and we need to keep saying that. But we don't, and therefore, we, the media, are not doing our job.
Yeah, and that point, there was something actually new about it, which I think was also worth noting. And Dave Weigel, I thought, did a great job in his Americana newsletter. He said Donald Trump walked onto the Fiserv Forum stage as a Caesar barely wounded by an assassin and in full command of his party. He walked off with comparisons to Castro. Even from sympathetic conservatives, a dramatic retelling of the Butler shooting eased into the longest and most meandering acceptance speech since candidates started showing up at conventions. I saw other people say, look, full stop, that's the worst convention speech I've ever seen. I mean, it just, and again, this is the point, and I think it's also difficult, again, the conventions of all this, and I'm using the word advisedly, is such that, look, we're covering a convention. It is the Republican Party convention. Like, in some ways, the normalization has been done by the Republican Party giving this man the nomination, right? Like, we are going to cover the convention. It is one of the two major party conventions. He is going to be on that ballot, along the other one. So you just got to work overtime to find ways to communicate the weirdness.
100%. And we're not working overtime. We're not working within normal time. I mean, people say time travel's not possible. It is. The media has time traveled back to 2016. This is the 2016 media, excited about Trump, faux naive about his intent, constantly waiting for a change of tone, a new person. This is the day he became president. And it's killing me because, yes, you have to cover the convention. Yes, it's a binary system, but you don't have to cover it in this way. And I just think, look, the problem, of course, is, Chris, the elephant in the room is, as long as Joe Biden is on the scene, journalists have the cop-out of saying, well, hold on. Look at Joe Biden. And I think about that debate, Chris, that you've already mentioned. Donald Trump gave the second worst debate performance in American history.
Yes.
The problem is the worst was given by Joe Biden next to him. So we didn't pay attention to what Trump said that night. In any normal night, had we heard a candidate say, when he's asked about his climate change policy, you know what Trump said that night? We had H2O. That's a literal quote he said that night. We had H2O. What on earth do you mean? But no one asked that. No one noticed because Biden was busy saying we beat Medicare or whatever it was. Right. So that is a fundamental problem that he's getting away with it on multiple levels.
And it's also the case that, to your point about that point about 2016, I think is good because I do see a lot of echoes. That partly what's really frustrating about that, too, is there's a record. There is a record. He governed for 4 years. So if he's saying things like he's improvising a new tone on immigration, that we want to expand legal immigration, well, he reduced legal immigration when he was in office. There's a very clear record. He made it nearly impossible to legally immigrate to this country. So you cannot, it's one thing in 2016 where it's like, well, what it will be like. He did govern. That's the other thing that I think has been missing is comparing whatever he's saying now, whatever the rhetoric is, whatever the 2.0, to an actual record.
I'm glad you mentioned COVID earlier, Chris. It kills me that we just move on from the fact that several 100,000 Americans are dead who should be alive today had Donald Trump done his job as commander-in-chief, as president. We just gloss over that. Yeah. And look, every headline today should have really been the one line in the speech that really mattered, which was they cheated with COVID. We're not going to let that happen again. That is Donald Trump saying, we're going to do it all again. Insurrection, election interference. We're going to do it all again. He said it twice. We're not going to let them do it again. That should have been the headline on every newspaper today, that the man calling for unity actually says he's going to do another insurrection.
That is the headline. That was our headline, Mehdi Hasan. Thank you very much.